Duke Bradley, and welcome to Chelsea Forum. Today I have special guest, City Councilor at Large Roy Avellaneda, and Roy's brought a guest with him, Kathy Ross. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure.
And there's going to be a ballot question on November, what is the date?
November 8th. November 8th.
And it pertains to the people out there in Chelsea, and it's the Community Preservation Act. It's been adopted unanimously by the City Council. And Roy, we've got some questions that we think the people would like to know, the answers to, because it's new to everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with, there'll be like a true or false, okay? Want to play the game? You guys
sure,
ready?
True or false, let's play.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, adopting the CPA means a 1.5% increase in property taxes on your home or condo.
False.
False.
I believe that it's just it's the formula how it works is we get the average values of each of the different sectors, and we've said that I think it's a 1.5% on your tax itself, on the a tax bill.
On your bill.
On your tax bill, not on your value of the home. So if you have a single family home that is worth $300,000, you're not getting a 1.5 tax on that $300,000. It's on your tax bill that you get. So I think it's $3,000. So if you get a tax bill of $3,000, which is average,
Yep.
You're looking at a 1.5 of that. But remember, there are some things that we put into the order that exempts the first $100,000 or $150,000, I think, of the home value.
It's
so
$100,000.
$100,000. So even then, it gets reduced. We have a breakdown of what we expect each homeowner, property owner, to pay. Right now, based on the analysis we did on Chelsea Values, a single-family homeowner is looking at paying, I think, $36, an extra $36 for the whole year. It comes down to $3 a month.
Is it just Chelsea?
Just Chelsea. We can get to that later. There are other communities that have already passed it.
Okay.
But now, I thought that this was a great time for Chelsea to try to pass the CPA to address all the issues that have been going on in here. Again, we'll talk about that. But
because this is great. I'm sure there's many out there that don't even understand what this is all about.
Where this is going to go. So the values are, if we have a single-family homeowner, he's probably looking at an additional $36
for the year.
For the year. A condo owner, because they're lower in values right now in Chelsea, they're looking at $21 extra. A two-family homeowner is looking at, I believe, $40. And then the three-family owner, because again, the value goes up, looking at $56 more for the whole year. And that gets broken down by the month. So we're asking them to chip in a little bit extra that will go towards three specific items in the city of Chelsea that it could only be spent on those three items. One is the creation and the remodeling or remake, I'd say, renovations of existing park space or creation of new park space. Two, to create affordable housing, maintain affordable housing or create new affordable housing. And three, another one that is very important to this community because it hasn't been addressed but has been talked about is historic preservation. And we can talk about samples of how we're going to do that and where that money goes. But so the answer to the original question is no, it's not a general 1.5% on your value, but a nominal fee. And I think it's very small because I'm very sensitive to what we ask homeowners to pay, and which is before all of this, back in February, I proposed the increasing of the residential tax exemption. So right from the start, everyone who owns their home and lives there is getting an additional $450 off their taxes.
Oh.
So I came back now and I said, that $450 I gave you, can you just chip in $50? You're still up $400, Dookie.
Or 36.
Yeah, so $36. So
Yeah.
you're still up $400.
Yeah.
So next year, we're going to have a lower tax bill for all the residents, regardless.
That's great.
So, but the CPA addresses, the Community Preservation Act addresses some. I think we're in a crisis here in Chelsea, in the greater Boston area total, but Chelsea specifically on the question of affordable housing. I hear the complaints about the rents. I hear complaints about the displacement of long-time Chelsea residents who can't.
Well, with all
keep
these
on-
new condos and everything going up, Joe?
It's not about the new, it's about the existing homes that are
Existing?
going up. It's about existing homeowners who are selling and kicking out the people who are there because the new owners come in and they.
Is that really happening?
It's
I hear
absolutely
it, but
happening.
it really
It
does.
really is happening.
So they're forcing them out, right? I mean,
Well, they sell the home, and usually it's another apartment, and you hear, the gut-wrenching stories of people who have been in the same apartment for 15, 20,
and
30,
then the rents
40
are
years.
astronomical when
And
they
then
do.
they said, where am I going to go?
Right.
And there is nowhere to go. So we're trying to find a way to just keep our longtime Chelsea residents here in the city. And also,
Do you
I
have a
had-
plan for that? I mean, something, what can we do if they're displaced? I mean, do we have?
Well,
we have
that's
to-
what,
some-
there is plans. There can be a plan. That's, right now, we don't have a plan in place, and we don't have funding in place to help address that. And so if we want to solve the issue, I can get the complaints from the residents and the voters in Chelsea, say, Roy, we have this problem going on. What can you do about it? Well, here's.
Are we land poor, though? We have any?
Well, we may be, again, development can happen anywhere, but if there's new development, there's no monies in place that can say, well, some of that has to be affordable.
Yeah.
Or also, if there's if there's existing homes and we want to keep them affordable, there's, again, no monies there to make that happen. And that's what this
And
opportunity
that's
allows.
where the
And-
Community Preservation Act comes in, because we see communities that are already working with the program,
Yeah.
dealing with the kinds of problems that Chelsea is facing by using some of their CPA funds to preserve the affordability of some of the existing
So
units.
from your experience with the state, how's it been working in some other communities?
Well, there are already 161 communities out of, I think there's 351 or 52, 54, somewhere around there, total communities in Massachusetts. So we're getting close to half of the communities in Massachusetts have already adopted CPA. So Chelsea would be getting in kind of, late in the game. CPA has been around since the year 2000. So we're kind of 16 years into the program now. And so the program has matured, and it's now kind of a big part of the municipal scene in Massachusetts. We see, if you drive around the way I do for my job, I work with communities all over the state, and you see.
What is your title, Kathy? I'm sorry, we didn't.
I'm
we
the
didn't-
Associate Director of the Community Preservation Coalition, and so we're a nonprofit organization, and we work with municipalities across the state to help them understand the Community Preservation Act, CPA, and also if they're interested in adopting it, we help them to adopt it, and then also once they have adopted it, we help them get kind of up and running with the program in terms of implementing it.
Yeah.
So Dookie, they were very instrumental. I didn't, when I involved myself in this and said and went down this path of exploring it, I reached out to their organization to find out information, and they're the ones who gave us the numbers of what a homeowner was going to be facing if we did this. So I wanted to make it applicable, and once I found out how small those numbers were, I just sat there and said, this is a no-brainer. I have to pay an extra $36 so that Chelsea has more new parks. Here you go. I mean, I won't think twice about it. And as city councilors, I know we've been involved on meetings about the lack of enough play space here in the city, and how often our parks get so overused that they have to be redone, and yet we have to go and fight other communities for grants to get those
Everybody
parks
wants a
done.
piece of the pie,
Everyone
yeah.
wants a piece of it, So we go to the state and say, we're looking for some park grant money, and we're competing with 9 other communities. This is
Have
a way.
we spoken to our state elected official?
Oh, yes. But they only get so far. So it gets to the point where you say, you know what, we can't wait for the state to drop pennies on us. We have to make our own funding solutions here.
Yeah.
And again, this is a way. And the other thing about this, Dookie, is we're raising this money, and yes, we're going to have a surcharge on some properties, and like I said, it's like $36. But these communities that have passed at the 161, whatever they raise, there's a portion that gets matched by the state. So if you raise $500,000, we estimate that we will get an additional $125,000. so that we actually have $625,000 at the end of the year to go out and address these issues that I talked about. Now,
But we have to raise that first.
but we have to raise the 500. And you say, well, where does the state get the 125? Well, every time a house gets sold in Chelsea, every time a house gets remortgaged in Chelsea, they have to go to the Registry of Deeds. And in that line item, down at the very bottom, like the telephone, you know, when you get your telephone,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
get all these taxes, there's a little line item that says
Kickback
CPA. So
Preservation Act.
Preservation Act. That's how the state funds the you know, this.
Okay.
So since 2000, city, every time a property got mortgaged, every time a property got sold in Chelsea, they've been kicking into the CPA, and that money's been going to other communities. So they
Really?
have, yes,
Our money.
our money's been going elsewhere to help them have nice new parks, help them, you know, restore
Have
historic-
affordable housing.
have affordable housing. So I'm saying, wait a minute, if we're going to be paying for something,
Yeah.
keep the money here. So that's the other part of it, saying, I don't want to, you know, we hear great things about, you know, this other community that has great new parks. I'm like, yeah, we paid for it. You know,
Yeah,
so
wow.
why not bring it back here?
That's great. Great that you found that little item, huh? That little line item down the bottom that
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
go to us, right?
It should go stay right here.
All right, I'm going to ask you another question. You guys ready?
Ready.
All right, we're
I'm
ready.
sure- I don't know if you'll handle this. It's a toughie. Who decides how CPA money is spent?
Well, I
I
can.
don't want to be redundant.
Yeah.
If something seems like we've
Yeah.
covered
No,
it,
no, that's
I can
fine.
please
probably,
bear with me.
I can
No.
probably speak to that. So it's really a community program. The Community and Community Preservation Act really means community because anybody can submit a project proposal for CPA funding. Anybody from the community, any municipal board or committee or department of the city can submit a proposal to a local committee that gets formed after CPA is passed. And that local committee is composed of 5 required members, 1 each from your local conservation commission, 1 from your local planning board, 1 from the historic commission, 1 from the housing authority, and 1 from your board of parks and recreation. So those 5 committees designate one of their members to serve on this other committee, the Community Preservation Committee. And then you can add the city can add up to 4 additional members. Those can be elected positions, or they can be appointed by the mayor or other municipal officials. Or they could be elected positions, actually. They can come from the community.
Yeah.
And that committee reviews project proposals that come in from all over the city. So if you're in a neighborhood and you want a playground, or you have a vacant piece of property that's run down, and you want to create like a little park, maybe with a little playground, you can get together with your neighbors and submit a proposal for developing a little park there in that rundown alley
it might
or
be
whatever.
a garden, it might be whatever, but essentially the board who decides is a committee very similar to like the planning board, the licensing board, the zoning board. It's a board made up of Chelsea residents. Local residents who
Yeah.
will then, look at the application, say, well, we'll donate, well, not donate, but we'll assign that much money to that project.
green
Well,
space or
they
something?
and they then
Green space. Well, the green space, a member of green space might be there. I mean, again, we're talking about Chelsea residents, so there might be someone in the audience right now that is looking and says, you know what? If the CPA passes, I want to be on that board. Well, then you just submit a letter to the city manager, and we'll put someone on there.
No,
So then this committee reviews all the project proposals that come in and then recommends a list of them periodically to your city council. And then your city council has a final vote on which ones of those go forward. And they can take into account any city plans or, really burning issues that the city's facing.
now you're saying this started at 2005?
It started in 2000. The year
So
2000.
now it's
Governor,
2016, it's just coming to Chelsea?
2016.
Well, 16, right. I tried to
You
do
know.
this before, but at the time it was brand new. They thought that this was more of a suburban thing. It wasn't meant for cities. And we had a different council then that was much more conservative. I think that you've seen that we have all these new faces up
Yeah.
on the council,
Yeah.
progressive, and along with that, Dookie, it's just, again, I was, Chicken Little out there screaming, prices are rising in Chelsea, and they didn't hear me back then. And I just happened because I'm in the real estate business, so I know what's going on. And we had to go through a recession, but once we popped out of that recession, we saw that the rents were rising. Chelsea strategically is located so close to Boston.
It's a great
we
location.
are getting pushed out by people who can't afford in Boston.
Right.
And it's just, it was going to happen. It went first to the communities that had the better transportation, so the Somervilles and the Melrose and those communities that had quick access to Boston public transportation were the first ones that were getting the wave of the people in Boston that couldn't afford it anymore.
They were going to Southie also.
They were going to Southie, and now I think with the advent of the Silver Line, people are saying, "Hey, I'll move to Chelsea. It's cheap." People saying, "Oh my God, Chelsea's expensive." Not compared to what you out there. I see what's out
Somervilles
there.
and Southies and
Right.
Charlestowns.
It just they double the rents here, and now those people who live there look at Chelsea, say, "Wow, it's half the rent. I'm going there. I can afford it."
Plus the fact is you're 10 minutes from the airport, 5 minutes over the bridge. The north, you're right by the ramp there, and
Yeah.
I mean it's an ideal location to
It
be.
is.
It really is.
situated
We're
here,
closer.
you know.
We're closer to downtown Boston than many parts of
Right.
Boston itself.
Right.
The people who live in Dorchester and Roxbury, Mattapan, West Roxbury, Roslindale, we are closer to downtown than they are. So it makes sense that we eventually we're going to get that desirability of people to want to live here, and that's happening. And I think that we are in a heap of trouble if we want to try to keep our longtime Chelsea folks here. And this is the best solution I can come up with.
Does that happen in the other communities, displacement?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, a number of communities, including Boston, are looking at CPA now, are looking at passing it because they're facing some of the same issues. And we've seen just recently Malden pass CPA, Medford, again, because they're kind of in the first wave of this displacement. And now we're getting Chelsea and other communities thinking about it.
So how long after the ballot vote, do you hear if it passes unanimously?
Well, if it passes the ballot, it already passed the city council, so
Yeah,
it's there. So now we
exactly.
just have to let the people vote in November when they go out to vote for the next president. That's when people vote for this. It'll be on the ballot
Yeah.
itself, and they vote yes or no for it to pass. And the other reason why I wanted to make it this year is because it is a presidential election.
Right.
Voter
So the-
turnout is going to be
great,
high.
yeah.
And I can only offer suggested solutions to the issues that are out there, Dookie. This is the solution that I'm proposing to help address affordable housing. This is the solution I'm proposing to help address some of historic sites like the Garden Cemetery.
Yeah.
If we want to, or the Carey House, who needs desperately the funds. If we're going to address those, that's my solution. And the same thing for open space. If the kids and parents are complaining to me that there's not enough parks, this is what I offer. I can't pass it myself. Neither the Kansas City Council. It's up to the voters.
Right.
And I wanted the maximum vote. If it loses, it loses. If it wins, great. We'll start working on the problems that we have. But I knew that the 2016 was going to be the highest vote. Then, whether it's a city council race or if it's a mid-year election when we elect our senators and representatives all over again every 2 years. So I wanted a true voice of the community,
Well, you
and
know
this
what,
is the
Roy?
best way.
If you didn't bring this to their attention, they wouldn't know what to do when they went into
Yeah.
the ballot box. I mean, if this is not explained to them, if they just see that taxes and really don't understand
Don't
how
understand.
to this would be, we have a tough fight,
Well, I have a busy
When
summer.
you tell someone they're going to pay something,
Yeah.
Not realizing that off that 400 you're only paying like 35, you got to explain it. And
Yeah.
this is what's so helpful, and because some questions they don't want to read it, and they just if they see something that says it looks like an increase. But I'm glad that you bring it to the forefront like
Well,
this.
this is why Kathy also helps. Her organization will come here and help us campaign during the summer. My job, I know I'm not running for office, but I'm going to be out there campaigning this summer for this ballot initiative to get the people the information and be able to and convince them that it's the best thing for Chelsea and to say yes
Yeah.
come November. So we have a plan in sight. It's going to be similar to any other campaign, but it's going to be more of a vote yes, vote yes on one campaign, similar to what you see in other places. And hopefully it'll pass. But that's the goal right now.
Okay, now, you guys ready for another true
Sure,
or false?
yeah.
Now, really, I think you're going to answer this one.
Okay.
Okay. True or false? 4 nearby communities together received over $4.6 million in CPA match funding from the state in 2015.
That's true. I actually pulled those numbers together myself. We have a website that has all information on all the communities that are working with the CPA program that have voted to adopt it. And we keep track of how much they raise through the program and how much money they get in these matching funds from the state. And that number is absolutely true. So a lot of monies, as I said, are flowing to these communities that have already voted to adopt CPA, and then they're using it for great new park projects, historic preservation projects, or rehabilitation of historic properties, which can be old mills and old, City Hall. Your City Hall is probably a historic
Well,
building.
you know what I always thought was the Chelsea clock.
The Chelsea clock, there you go.
That's so historic, you know?
Yep.
And I mean,
That's
But again, Tukey, we hear the complaints, but you say, well, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Well,
I
then
know.
the developer, if we will lose so much if we just let the marketplace deal with it. And what I mean by that is, when the market decides what will or will not happen, whether or not a person gets to stay in their apartment, if the rents are double what it is supposed to be, there's nothing that we can do, and they're lost. If a building like the Chelsea clock, if there's no public monies there to preserve it,
yeah.
a private developer is going to look at that and say it's worth more to me to get knocked down, and that's what's just going to end up happening. And again, there are a lot of other places that this could be done. We still have the Chelsea Square. We could redo that. That's a historic building. There is old railroad lines. We can have a new bike path, a new walk path in the city of Chelsea that we see in other communities.
Right.
There's so much more that could be done. So the anecdotal samples that are out there of what can happen are endless. We can go on and on about the potential of this. We all understand it, or some of us do. We just have to get it done. And again, when I hear those numbers of what the other community got, $4.6 million to do new parks and create affordable housing, it makes me jealous and say we should be doing the same.
Well, it's generated by population too, isn't it?
No, it's generated
just what
totally
they-
on tax basis.
It's what
on
they collect with
what
their
they collect with their
CPA,
taxes.
If
with
they
the
have more
surcharge on
people,
their
that's
property
more
tax
taxes.
bills.
It has no. It has nothing to. It has to do with. At the end of the day, they only have so much land. It's based on the tax base. So Malden, Chelsea and Everett were pretty similar in size,
1.8.
and we probably their tax base is probably similar to our tax base. The other thing about this is people don't realize is we're also going to be asking all the commercial properties to be paying for this too. So if you look at all those gas tanks,
Yeah.
the fuel tanks that we have, they
trucking?
pay they pay commercial taxes. Well, they're going to be paying into it too. The mullahs, that whole mall is going to be paying because they pay a property tax too.
Yeah.
They're not paying $56. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
They're going to pay a little bit more, but they can afford it, Dookie.
Yeah.
So the idea is again,
So there's some good revenue
it's
out there.
it's good revenue out there, great potential, and I think it's a win for the city of Chelsea to make it a better place to live and a more affordable place to live.
That's great.
Definitely a healthier place to live too if we can have more park space and trees.
Can you handle another true and false?
Go right ahead.
There you go. You guys are doing well. All right, true or false? Chelsea residents pay nothing towards the CPA now.
Oh, I already explained that earlier, and I said
I
no.
told you, I may be redundant.
And
I'm sorry.
we are paying for it, and the money was just going to Malden and Somerville and everywhere else that passed it. So yeah,
True or false again?
okay.
You better not tell me you answered this one, Roy. Those who can most afford it will pay the most for CPA.
That's true. That's true.
Thank God I didn't.
First of all, because there are exemptions that are built in that people will be voting on when they go to the the ballot box that are part of this proposal that the City Council has put forward that would exempt low-income homeowners and low and moderate income senior homeowners, so that those folks on a fixed income or who just aren't doing that great in terms of what they're bringing in don't have to pay this surcharge. They can be completely eligible for an exemption. And then there are also the exemptions for the first $100,000 of your property value, of your home's value, that get built into how the surcharge is calculated on your property.
First 100,000?
First $100,000 of your property value gets knocked off in calculating how much you owe. And so the folks that might have a hard time paying are going to get those exemptions. And then also, the properties that are more valuable, folks that can maybe afford properties that are more valuable, they're going to be paying a little bit more than the less valuable properties. So it does work so that the people that are most able to pay do pay. And folks that can't pay, don't then necessarily have to pay for it because they may be exempt.
And Dookie, again, I want to speak to you about my sensitivity to what we're asking the voters here in Chelsea. We already know that if you take an analysis of all the communities around it, we actually pay the lowest in taxes. And I think it speaks more about the income levels that are here in Chelsea. So we're not going to try to beat anyone else. When I wrote this up, the option for a community to pass a surcharge is from 1% all the way to 3%, and any variations in there. You can do 3, 2.5 to 1, 1.5. I did the pretty low on the bar. I only did 1.5. I didn't go 3. I just said, look, we're just going to try it out, and I think that I can tell a condo owner, I'm asking you for $21 to create a park. You mind doing that? And it's an easy sell. I didn't go up all the way to the 3. I just said, look, we're entry point. And again, we're very sensitive, particularly us on the council. We've passed all types of savings for elderly homeowners here. They're talking about trying to do something for the water rates too. We get, take care of veterans also. So we made sure that this was affordable. And part of that was, of course, the exemption that we rolled into the first $100,000 for the exemption for that. So, again, we're not asking for too much, I think. No. And actually, I keep on saying, we already gave you the residential exemption, $400,000. So you're still way ahead of the game.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you a last true or false.
Okay.
Who wants it? You want it?
Well, why don't you throw it out there?
Okay.
And we'll see.
I'll race it to
Once a community adopts the CPA, it can't change its mind and change or undo the surcharge. True or false?
That's false.
That's false.
It doesn't have to be a permanent commitment. After 5 years in the program, like 5 years from the date of adoption, the community can vote it out in the same way that it adopted it. So it would have to go to a ballot election, just like when you adopt it.
Yeah.
But it can be revoked by the voters if it isn't working out for the community. Though the interesting thing to note is that not a single community has actually voted to revoke this program in 16 years.
Really?
So I think that really speaks highly for the program, that if they wanted to, that they would opt out. Actually, it went to the ballot in 3 communities, 2 towns and a city of Northampton, the community of Hingham, and the community of Sturbridge. Further out in Western Mass. And all of those communities, when it went to their ballot, this issue of revoking the CPA, they voted against it. They voted to continue with the program by very high percentages. So I think that really speaks to the program's success and how people, feel about it. They see that it's a good deal, and want to continue with it.
That's good.
And the other thing about that is what can also change is actually the rate. We started off at 1.5.
Right.
Some communities started at 3 and then said, okay, we've done the work that we want to, now let's lower it. We can go down to 2 or we'll go down to 1. Even 0.5%. Chelsea could be doing this for 5 years and do it at 1.5 and all of a sudden say, you know what, it really is minimum. They could vote to increase it, to go up to 2 and a little bit more. But
But again, that
but
would have
again,
to go to
that
back
all
to
ballot.
the
But
people, the ballot
so at
election.
the end of the day, no, nothing is
So you don't
permanent.
increase it without a ballot?
Always with the ballot
Always a
election.
ballot. No one can change it. Again, it goes back to
And
the
it's
strength.
revisited in 5 years?
After 5 years, this community can revisit it and say, okay, you've had it for 5 years. You can, you can take it off the books, revoke it if you want to put it on the ballot, and thereafter you can do it every year if you want to revoke it or look at it. So, but you have to wait at least 5 years to
And
try
that's
it out.
just to give it a chance to see
Yeah.
how it works, yeah.
All right, you know what I'm going to do now? In simple layman terms,
Yeah.
Summarize all these questions we asked. It's your camera right there, Roy. And
Okay.
Kathy, both of you take a crack at it and tell them, try to convince the people what
Okay.
they should be doing and how it'll work for them. Summarize it all.
Okay, well, I'll just speak specifically to Chelsea, and Kathy can talk about the
Yeah.
program itself. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dookie, for giving us the
My pleasure.
the opportunity to talk about this. And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing the voters out there this summer and in November on this issue. I've been for the last couple of years been hearing about complaints about some of the issues that are affecting us in the community regarding the lack of open space, the lack of affordable housing. And the status of some of our oldest, buildings and monuments here in the city of Chelsea, such as the Garden Cemetery on Central Ave, and been asked, what can you do about it? So this is the best solution that I've come up with that is available to us as a community, the Community Preservation Act, to be able to raise money to address those issues. So if you are looking to see our community be a healthier, greener, more affordable place to live in, I would beg you to say yes on the ballot question come November, and I'll see you on the trim.
Good job, Roy. Kathy, you want to add anything to it?
Well, obviously I don't know your community, Chelsea, as well as Roy here or Dookie do, but just from my own perspective, from having traveled around the state and worked with other communities, talked to people around the state, what we've seen is that the CPA really opens up possibilities for a community to do some of the real kind of nice projects that make the community a nice place to live, whether it be open space trails or recreational areas for kids, and also to make it an affordable place to live for folks that may be struggling to stay in the community. So we have seen that it does seem to strengthen the community in terms of its financial outlook as well, because it does bring in the state match monies as well. So.
I tell you, I enjoyed your company today. And I'll tell you what, if you got something that you think we may have missed, you're welcome back.
Yeah.
Anytime, to try to get this, to clarify it, even if we get calls here and I don't understand this, or Roy gets a call out in the street, talks to someone, and they say, I didn't quite follow that.
Yes,
And if you got some things you want to come back with, Roy.
Actually, Kathy, why don't you give them the website for the...
Sure. The website is www.communitypreservation, all one string.org.
And you'll see a lot of information there about what the program does. That's where I actually got a lot of my homework.
Yeah.
Got a lot of my information. And again, it provides samples also. You'll see samples of all the work that has been done by the CPA in other communities. And it gives us the opportunity. Interestingly enough, you're probably going to hear a lot about it because I like to say they stole our idea. But Boston decided to put it on their ballot this year, too.
Really?
Yes. So, and they will, because they have command the big press over there, you'll hear stories in the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald.
We'll beat them out here. Come back here. We'll kill them.
And so you'll be able to get information about what the CPA is.
Yeah.
And it's great for us because I could never get that sort of attention over here. That Boston, city of Boston will. So Chelsea residents will get to hear, all the pros about it just by paying attention to what's going on.
Missing
in
a
Boston.
big point here. We have to have it done in Spanish.
No, well, we're working on that. I'm actually going to do that. I will be I planned on going to the Spanish radio stations. We
I
have
mean, you
two-
even come back
yep.
here if you want to.
Well,
come
yeah,
back
I'll,
with,
I'll do it.
you
I'd
know.
love to do it in Spanish. I'm actually working with, there are a couple organizations who, again, nonprofits here in the city that have been working on making Chelsea a better place to live and work. The TND, the neighborhood developers, and the Chelsea Collaborative, because they have the green space group underneath them. And both those organizations are going to be joining the campaign because they realize the benefits of this. So we're going to be working with them too. And they have, they have their network. They'll be doing Spanish too. And I plan on going on Spanish radio too to try to talk to everyone about it. So
Very good.
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you for coming here today.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
you're
Duke.
welcome back
Pleasure.
anytime.
Okay.
This is Duke Brett. I want to thank Roy and Kathy and Paula and Ricky. Thank you for watching Chelsea Forum. Good evening.